Welcome to another edition of I Am Abel Foundation's Medicine Makers, where if your destination is a career in medicine, we'll show you how to get there. Hi, I'm your host, Kenichi Haney, and this entire season, I Am Abel Foundation, member of Foxglove Alliance, is devoted to amplifying the voice and presence of Black men in medicine, as Black men represent only 2% of all practicing physicians today. Our hope is to inspire the next wave of capable Black male physicians that are so urgently needed in the medical field today. We want to give real-world examples of amazing people fighting on the front lines to make this lofty goal possible. And today, I am joined by Darius Thompson. Darius, thank you so much for being with us. And so a little bit about Darius. So Darius he's earned his bachelor's in science in molecular and cellular biology, along with his minor in music, from Johns Hopkins University. All right, Darius, we see you. Then he served as chief medical scribe in an orthopedic surgery clinic for about a year before pursuing a master's in science in interdisciplinary health sciences from Drexel University College of Medicine. After earning his master's degree, he aided the fight against the novel coronavirus by serving as professional medical laboratory technologist. That's quite a mouthful right there. In a COVID-19 molecular pathology laboratory. So now, Darius is a first-generation medical student. Yes. An urban medicine scholar at the University of Illinois College of Medicine in Chicago, starting his second year in just, a couple weeks?
2 weeks,
2 weeks now?
2 weeks.
In his spare time, he enjoys mentoring students on the west side of Chicago who are interested in STEM careers and using social media to inspire the next generation of future physicians. So yes, I know that's super formal introduction, but yeah, tell us a little bit about who is Darius?
Who is Darius?
Yes.
I think a great place to start is place. I grew up in the DMV, outside the DC area.
Okay, East Coast.
Yeah. Shout out to gorgeous Prince George's County, Maryland. I grew up there. I have family all over the East Coast. Very strong Virginia, North Carolina kind of roots. Mm-hmm. But beyond that, just as a person who I am, I'm very extroverted. I like to be, I like to socialize with people. I'm a big artist. I play cello and piano.
All right.
I write poetry. I arrange music.
You do it all, huh?
I mean, I enjoy it. It's good. I think it's good to have a balance between science and the arts. I think it's very important. Sure. But also just like passionate about social justice. Passionate about my people, and just blessed to be here.
Absolutely.
Blessed to be here. So.
Congratulations on your journey thus far. I know it's been, you haven't made it all the way through yet, naturally, but you're doing some amazing things. And additional to all the other things that I listed, amazing accolades that Darius has done, he's also co-VP of UICOM's, the University of Illinois College of Medicine's class of 2025. So let's talk about that, because that is quite an amazing feat right there.
Yeah, no, I appreciate my class for electing me. I'm one of the VPs. I'm one of the VPs, and I'm one of my close friends. She's also a VP, a Black woman. Shout out to her, Vicky. And our president is also a Black woman.
Listen, this is unheard of. They're breaking history right now. Like, this is some serious stuff. Like, you talking about president. Both COVID VPs,
secretary.
So
yeah, we're in here. I mean, we're here. I think a lot of us. We're passionate about the school. We're passionate about our student body. We want to see changes happening in the school. So we signed up, and we're here. Yes. We're here to do the work.
Yes,
so
absolutely, y'all are doing that work. That's the most important part.
Yeah,
for sure. So Darius, what in general inspired you to want to even become a doctor in the first place?
Yeah. That's important. I think that's important.
Absolutely. Why are you here? Why do you want to be here?
Because it's hard, right?
Fight so hard. Pray to get here,
right.
And it's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough, but why even start the journey? Like, what?
Yeah, absolutely.
Take me back to the beginning.
I think it's interesting because I feel like a lot of people, when they enter medicine, they have like a pinpoint moment, like a light bulb moment.
Right, yeah.
I don't think I necessarily had that. I didn't have an aha moment. I think a lot of roads just kind of led me this way, right? So I think initially, the thing that first got me thinking about medicine in the first place, like I said, family is important to me, right? And when I was 9 years old, my mother was diagnosed with colorectal cancer. Yeah, exactly. And so like my mom, she was like my world, and no one wants their mom to, like, when you hear a cancer diagnosis and you're 9 years old, that's scary.
That's a lot to swallow, for sure.
Exactly. So that got me interested in medicine and the idea of using science to kind of help heal my family. But additionally, a lot of people in my family have had cancer and different types of sicknesses.
Oh, wow.
And I think even just like within my own family, I've noticed how I've noticed disparities in the way that they've navigated the healthcare system, right?
Talk about it.
My mom, yeah, no, truly. My mom, she's a cancer survivor, praise God. But I think, I definitely think that there are social determinants that contribute to that. Whereas I've had other people in my family who've had cancer diagnoses, and it didn't quite work out, unfortunately. And I think a large component of that has to do with the healthcare that they had access to.
For sure.
The funds that they had access to, So you know, so just saying that within my family, then I'm taking that to college, right? Yeah. And so I studied college in Baltimore, Maryland, a great city to study public health, right? I took a couple of public health classes there, and it was in college where I started to learn a little bit more about healthcare disparities, about health equity. Started to get passionate about that. I volunteered at a free clinic. You got to see it firsthand.
Yes.
Yeah, and so I think that's something else kind of inspired me. I also got passionate about social justice. I happened to go to Hopkins in Baltimore during pretty much what was the rising of the Black Lives Matters movement, right? Wow. And so I think I was, well, I guess I could say that later. I'll say that for later. But I think social justice has definitely inspired me, and I can see fighting for health equity as like my slice of that. So
yeah. I find that so interesting, though, and I know you talked on social determinants earlier, and for those at home who may not know what social determinants, can you tell them a little bit about what does that mean? Because that's a huge part about what we do.
Yeah.
You know, like we go to medical school, we learn this medical knowledge, but at the same time, there are so many things outside of medical prescriptions and tests that we can run and treatments that we can give. There's so many determinants of our patient's health that is outside of the hospital, outside of the clinic, you know, talking about access to food, access to healthcare, access to so many different things that you know, they may come into the emergency room, we may treat them, they may, you know, be fine, we release them out, and they may come back with the same problem. You know, we may do that rough cycle, that do that same thing. So how much are we actually helping that patient?
Yeah.
You know, so that's social determinants of health, like the things outside of that medical arena that have so much to do with health and health outcomes and stuff like that. But like, why does that stuff matter? Like, why are you passionate about that?
I mean, like I said, because I think because I've seen it.
Yeah.
You know, I see it. Also because I think that it contributes to healthcare disparities.
For sure.
And just to clarify what I mean by that, there's differences in health outcomes for populations.
Yeah.
And I think that in an ideal world, these gaps would not exist.
Right. That's super ideal.
Yeah. I think these gaps would not exist because I think oftentimes you hear like stats about like specifically black people suffer more from hypertension and diabetes, and like oftentimes medicine is racialized in that way, but it's not because people are black that they're getting hypertension, because they're getting diabetes. It's because of so many factors, so many environmental factors. What type of neighborhoods are we in? It's due to redlining. It's due to what type of food we have access to. Is it safe to go outside? Education. Is it safe to go outside and exercise? You know, is it safe to go outside and go for a walk?
Right.
Absolutely. So I think that's very important to consider. And luckily, medical education is kind of leaning in that direction.
Absolutely. Starting to. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
For sure. And that's the thing that I admire about you so much. Darius, just like Dr. Conway, who we had on the show last week, you know, a lot of people see the same things on the TV. You know, they hear the same things on the news. They you know, how many people experience the same kind of health disparities that you did? You know, but how many people are willing to experience that, see that, and then answer that call? You know, wake up to that mission of, I have to do something greater than myself to make sure that other people don't experience the same kind of hardships that I do. You know, it takes a different individual. You know what I'm saying? Like 1 out of 100 maybe. You know, like the 99% would love to like put their head down, to grind through that, to just, you know, I got to do what I'm here to do. But you decided to do what you're here to do, plus some. You know what I'm saying? And that definitely matters. So congratulations to you for sure.
I appreciate that. Yeah, because we want our patients to be better, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's why I partially think it's so important that we need black men in medicine, you know? Because personally, as a black man, when I'm referring to my doctor or I'm going to get health care, I want to be able to relate to that person. You know, there's so many things that I and I tell people this story all the time, but like I went to my last physician appointment and I was having a rash on my forearms, and I was like, you know, I've never experienced something like that. It's like this dry, flaky skin. I was thinking maybe psoriasis, maybe
differentials.
Like, so, yeah, absolutely. You know, I got the whole differential on there. Right. But and then when I told it to my doctor, he was like, put some lotion on, and I was like,
let's find out.
I was like, never did my doctor just call me ashy, you know what I'm saying, to my face. Yeah. But like, that's something I wouldn't have to encounter or deal with if I had somebody I can relate to, if I had somebody I felt comfortable sharing my vulnerabilities with, you know. And it's so rare to see people who look like us in the field.
Yeah, I mean, studies show that when you have physician-patient concordance, there's better outcomes.
Absolutely.
You know, and so I think it's important. We need to be here. You know,
for sure,
we need to be here.
For sure, because there's a lot of us out there that need our help.
100%.
You know, and at some point, it's definitely tough to be the pioneer.
Yeah.
You know, but we are. I mean, I don't even consider myself a pioneer. You know how many people came before us?
100%, sir.
You know, I wouldn't be sitting right here before you if it wasn't for the amazing black men and black women and advocates who fought for us to be here.
Yeah.
And I think we'd be remiss without acknowledging them because we stand on the shoulders of their success
100%.
naturally. But we do have to realize that in order for it to be anywhere near equitable, because it's not currently, there's a lot of work to be done.
Yeah.
Naturally. For sure. That's some good stuff right there.
I could talk about this forever.
Yeah. So talk to me about your undergrad experience, and like what you encountered, and you know, especially going through, you know, like the things of social justice that are going on around you. And I know it was a lot. It was a lot, especially over there in Baltimore.
Sir. I mean, yeah, like I was saying, I was going through undergrad at a time when like the Black Lives Matter movement was on the rise, right? And it was also, unfortunately, a time where you see lynchings and massacres, like just on display, on full display. The trauma is just, just on full display on social media, on Facebook.
Yes.
And that was hard for me. I definitely got involved with a lot of social justice movements back in undergrad. Found my passion for social justice, learned to use my voice, which is great. I appreciate my undergrad experience for that. But I think it's hard. I think one thing that a lot of people don't consider, getting into med school is just difficult. Being a pre-med student is just difficult. And then to be a pre-med student, you know, in an environment that's quite rigorous. It's difficult. But I think a toll that a lot of people don't realize is that when you have the world happening around you, it's hard to like block that out, right? Sure. When you see people who look like you know, unfortunately being killed, and you see it displayed across social media, displayed across Twitter, it's displayed across, you know, it takes a toll. It's hard to kind of cut that off. And so, take me back to sophomore year. You know, I'm studying for organic chemistry.
Not
OChem. Yeah, OChem. But the beast, isn't that like the weed out?
Yeah,
the weed out class, right?
Yeah.
And just recently, a young man named Freddie Gray was recently killed in the back of a police car. And this is happening maybe less than a 15-minute drive from where I'm studying at. In addition, on top of campus, like on top of that, like so there's things happening around the city. There's demonstrations, things of that nature. I'm dating myself, but there was an app called Yik Yak back in the day. I don't know if I mentioned that. I don't know. But people would just, you know, anonymous. There's anonymous texting app. People would just say wild stuff, completely racist stuff. And and I'm trying to study for organic chemistry. Like, it's hard to stay focused.
When all this
and it got to the point
around you.
And it got to the point when I couldn't just stay there. I couldn't stay focused, and I ended up going out and demonstrating because I felt like I needed to be there. I felt like I couldn't just sit idly by. I needed to say something, you know. Unfortunately, I ended up failing organic chemistry that semester. Yeah, I did. But I felt like I needed to be with my people. I needed to be out here, like, fighting for my life, you know?
That matters right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's real. And I think it's hard. A lot of times, I think a lot of people who are interested in medicine, who are also interested in social justice, they feel that tension, that the role strain between being a student and being a social activist. Fortunately, at the time, I had a mentor who was able to explain to me that there's multiple ways you can be involved with the social justice movement, right? She was explaining to me something called the social justice wheel. Shout out to Abby. The social justice, and so, and very much in the same way. Let's compare it to an army, right? In very much the same way an army has chefs, they have engineers, they have janitors, they have transportation people. Within the battle for social justice, there's so many different things you could do. There's so many different realms. There's people who demonstrate, they organize. There's people who lobby down in D.C. There's people who enforce policy. And there's people who where I could fall in health equity, who are fighting for health equity, who were down in the clinics, community clinics, serving the people. And she was telling me that I don't have to be at every protest. I don't have to be at every demonstration. I can, but
like you need to be.
But listen. I can't serve my people if I don't get my white coat. You know. So she was saying like, yeah. So she was telling me like, I can social like health equity, fighting for health equity, fighting to combat healthcare disparities. That could be my slice of the social justice wheel. And so I definitely carry that with me. Also, she. During that internship with her, I learned to use my privilege in whatever way I can to position myself where I can help people social justice wise. So I don't know. I think that was a valuable lesson
for sure.
To help me get here. So.
Oh my gosh, absolutely! And shout out to Abby.
Yeah, shout out to her. No, honestly, really, because also she hired me for the internship program. There was a stipend associated with it. I used that stipend to pay for my summer courses. And that next summer, I ended up getting an A in organic chemistry.
Hey, that's what I'm talking about.
Shout out.
Okay. Full circle for sure. And I think that's something that people definitely don't realize, that the journey to medicine is different for every single person.
100%, yeah.
You know, and naturally part of wanting to aspire to be something, I don't even know how to describe it, but on the level of like physician, you know, you feel like you have to be perfect.
Yeah.
That is not the case at all. I'm not perfect. Darius is not perfect.
Clearly not.
You know, none of us are perfect. Yeah. You know, and that's not necessarily what it means by any means. Yeah. But you have to be passionate about like doing this, because it's hard. It's hard. You're definitely gonna have to dig deep a lot of times. But passionate, and I don't know. You gotta want to fight for this, because just like you said, like. That tearing idea between I'm here to focus, I want to be a physician, I'm going to work my butt off for this OChem grade, I'm going to, you know, do my undergrad and then apply and then work for the MCAT. There's all these different steps that you can get deterred, and you can get, you know, there's going to be so many obstacles. One, we don't want people to feel like you can't get a bad grade in a science class, or there's so many misconceptions out there about what you need to be, and constantly comparing yourself. Imposter syndrome is real.
Yeah, 100%.
200%. I remember even my whole, like, part of my first semester, I was constantly checking my emails, and, like, I'm like, someone's going to come in here and tell me, like, hey, we made a mistake in admissions. I'm so sorry, but you're going to have to come with me. Your spot was actually reserved for someone else or something like that. Yeah. But it takes a while to, one, believe in your greatness, but to recognize that, you know, and especially black men, you line up 100 black men, all 100 of them are different. Yeah. You know, you line up 100 black men who are physicians, all 100 of them are different.
That's true.
You know, my story is different than your story. My struggles are different than your struggles. Same as the next person. Yeah. But it doesn't have to look a particular way. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I didn't fail OChem, and I made it. But you know what I'm saying? Anything can happen. You can make it through anything. This man failed OChem. He just told y'all. It's okay. It's okay. And not only that, but he did it because he was out in the street fighting for his people.
Yeah.
You know, that's a different kind of story for sure. Yeah. But trials and tribulations are part of life. Yeah. And by no means do we want them to count you out from aspiring to even wanting to dream to become a physician. So thank you for sharing that, for being vulnerable with us.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I feel like people need to know that. They need to realize that, and, you know, it's not about being perfect.
But I also am a strong believer of knowing your story. But additionally, like, owning your struggles, right? Yes. Because oftentimes your struggles are the things that can get you into where you're supposed to be, right?
For sure.
In the sense that everyone's unique, I think that there's lessons that we learn from our struggles, right? And so, like, so I'm just going to leave it at that. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. They help us to get to where we are now, you know? Like, obstacles can be springboards.
100%, yes, sir.
Towards the future, towards our goal, towards these things, you know? You talk about all the greats. Nobody great ever got there overnight. no one great ever got there by, without struggle.
Yeah.
All the great quotes of, iron is forged in heat and diamond pressure and all these things. It takes these things to make some greatness. And at this point, it's like, not necessarily I welcome them.
I'm done. If I get no more struggles, I'm fine. I don't need any more problems.
I feel you. But as they come, we take them and reflect on them. And, all obstacles should help us make better. We should learn from everything,
100%.
I think that's a huge part. So like talking about, we're unicorns in the field of medicine. Black men especially. There's not that many. Yeah. And something interesting, I was sharing with somebody about us doing the show and about the disparity in medicine, especially about black males. It was a white gentleman and his wife, and they were like, "Oh no, I don't think it's that way anymore. It's got to be different." And then it was like, oh, I know a black doctor, a male doctor who's like the #1 dermatologist in Chicago, or like, let me list these 2 black people that I had in my pocket that I know. It was like, listen, you know how many doctors are in Chicago?
Yeah. No, there's stats that show that we're not out here. Even like I was sharing a story with someone. I used to live in Philadelphia. Before I came here to Chicago, and I remember looking for a black PCP, right? I could not find a single black PCP, a black male PCP in the city, in the entire city of Philadelphia. And it's wild because Philly, like, it has a huge black population. But I couldn't find one. So I think it's we're needed,
Wow.
Yeah, there's definitely a dearth.
For sure. Did you grow up with black physicians?
Yeah, I was incredibly fortunate. My pediatrician growing up was a black man. My mom was like on it to make sure that me and my brothers had a black man pediatrician.
Shout out, mama.
No, honestly, and I think it was important too. Just because he also kind of inspired me. I saw that he did great work as a pediatrician. I am interested in pediatric oncology. Okay. But like I think that the pediatric part was inspired by him. Wow. And then when I told him I was interested in medicine, like we talked. He gave me a little bit of mentorship. So
yeah, and it was nothing but support.
100%. Yeah, 100%. So
for sure. And that's like you said, it's rare.
Yeah.
It's rare. There's not many of us out there, and naturally, as a black male growing up, I'm sure your mother wanted you to find somebody that you can relate to, somebody you can feel safe with, somebody who, you could grow with. And that's amazing that you're going to be that for somebody one day in the future,
Giving it back, right?
For sure, you got to. But again, you talk about you can't be what you can't see.
Yeah.
You're so fortunate. I was so fortunate as well. I had a black male pediatrician.
Yeah.
But that's not everybody's story.
Yeah.
So I had seen black men successful in that field, in that role, but not everybody has.
Yeah.
So when you talk about you can't be what you can't see, for all those people, talking about 2% of physicians, there's a lot of people out there who have never seen a black male in a white coat.
Mm-hmm.
And that's atrocious, personally, I feel. But that's why we're working so hard in the roles that we are now.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel like our struggle, our hard work means a lot. Like it's worth something, especially at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's why I'm glad you have this platform. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's an amazing, and shout out to Dr. Conway for even letting us get up here and do this, because this is something that a lot of people don't know about.
Yeah.
But it's definitely something that we need to do something about, and it's not necessarily 100% sure of knowing how to get that accomplished, but we know we have to make efforts towards that goal, no matter what.
Yeah.
Whatever we're doing, we need to make steps towards that goal. And nearing the end of our little time here, but the last thing that I really want to talk about is like, so those black men out there, or the young black men, the kids, like, why should somebody even want to become a doctor? Why should you want to join? It's hard. We done told you how hard it is. How many obstacles, that you're not going to find that many people that look like you and all this. So like, why should anyone even aspire to become a doctor?
Yeah. I think that is a complicated question to answer. Let me tell you why. I think like you said, everyone's unique, right? Mm-hmm. I think everyone has their reasons for going into medicine. And I think regardless of the reason that you want to do, or make sure you have your reason. Make sure there's something leading you forward. Because otherwise, don't do it for the cloud. Don't do it for the money, because it's not there.
Listen, if you want a career with some money, there are so many other routes that you can get to quicker.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
don't do medicine for the money. There's money in medicine. Let's not talk like there's not money in medicine, but that should not be your number one driver.
Yeah, but I think it's important that everyone finds their reason. Mm-hmm. I also think, I mean, I'm a big proponent of like outreach. I think that if you see other people who are doing it, it's inspiring. 2 weeks ago, through the summer program I'm in, shout out to I'm in this program called 3SP Shy through Mount Sinai, through their urban medicine track. Yeah. And so what we do, we mentor, we shadow, but we're talking to a lot of minority physicians. We're also like engaging with the community. So shout out to Dr. Walton for that. But she arranged us a lunch for us to speak with a Black neuro-urologist, right? And I hadn't really considered urology because I didn't think nobody was out there. But this man pulls up to lunch and he's chilling. He has his chain, he has his J's on, he's flying. Okay. He's mad chill, and he's like talking about, he's just talking one-to-one, just one-on-one, just talking about how he enjoys the job, what he likes. And I think it's important to see people in medicine. So I think,
But that's another great example because, like, was urology on your ideas of possibilities at all?
I glanced at it.
Absolutely, but seeing somebody in that field successful, relatable, like that changes the deal completely.
I mean, I 100% agree. That's why, like, even now, right now, I mentor students. Like I mentioned, I mentor students on the west side of Chicago.
Okay.
I'm part of an organization called the Young Doctors Club.
Okay.
The Londo Christian Health Center. And so what we do is every Friday, we do some lessons and just expose students, young people, mostly young Black people on the west side of Chicago to medicine, because again, if you can see it, you can achieve it.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely. I think we got time for one more question, maybe. And the last thing I want to talk about is like, how did you get involved? Because I know there may be some people out there who are interested and passionate about some of the things that we're talking about. And there's so many organizations out there, and there's so many different, ideals about a lot of things. But how does somebody get involved in these advocacy fields? Like, where do you even look? Like, where do you start? Where did you start?
Involved in like just
this advocacy. Like, did you Google the org? And it's like,
so, for example, the mentorship program I do in the West Side, that's through the urban medicine program at UIC.
Okay.
So she had a connect and she partnered me with that partner organization. So I'm talking about with that. I think a lot of it's just the word of mouth.
Yeah.
If you're looking for it, you will find it.
Absolutely.
For
sure. Yeah. Easy enough. Well, I want to say thank you so very much to Darius for joining us on this episode of Medicine Makers. It has definitely been a pleasure. And I hope you guys enjoyed yourself as well. But remember, you can find us live here on CAN TV, channel 21 or 99. And you can stream us live at cantv.org/hotline. We invite you to please share our live streaming link on Facebook, Twitter, and IG. And if you have any questions or comments, please do not hesitate to reach out to info@amabel.org, and that's ABEL, like you see right there on your screen. Thank you all so very much for joining us. Thank you so much, Darius. It's been an absolute pleasure. I want you all to have an amazing rest of your night and hope to see you next week on the show. Thank you.